Hello, this is take two. This is Brittany Boles live with chapter 13 of my book, Finding Starlight. Finding Starlight is the unpublished story of my life, a true story of events as I remember them, told through the lens of a past life regression session that really happened here in New Hampshire. Tonight's chapter 13, is one that I have been dreading reading. I honestly thought that I would get discovered by now and not have to do it, but the treasure you seek is in the cave you fear. And I promised you all that we would light a fire tonight. I have done so, and I may or may not fire dance later about it. Before I start this chapter, I have something to say to some of the people who were here in my life during this time. This was once my deepest, darkest secret. Fewer than a handful of people in the world know what happened this summer in California before my mother's funeral. I never told anybody because I carried the guilt of what happened. If you were there this summer, I'm especially speaking to some of my aunts who were either there or maybe who feel like they should have known. I want you to know that this is not your fault. I don't blame you for this. I no longer blame myself for this. There's only one person responsible for what happened, and he doesn't know that I'm going public with this either. I couldn't tell you before I read this chapter aloud. I don't know how many times I can tell the story, and I needed all of my courage to do this thing like this tonight. So I'm sorry that I didn't tell you sooner. Maybe you're not even watching and you'll still be spared. This is a candle that my little sister gave me for my most recent birthday. And we're going to let it burn, clearing away everything negative about this experience. Chapter 13 of Finding Starlight by me, Brittany Boles. The color of ashes. The drive from Phoenix to Laguna was beautiful. On it, my aunt and I talked nonstop. I'm so excited to see my cousins. The last time I saw my Aunt Shonda was probably when I was in my cousin's wedding. I had to be like 5 or 6 years old because Amber was still a baby. I can't believe it's been so long. They probably won't even remember me. I babbled. I'm sure they remember you, she said. I'm looking forward to meeting this side of your family, even under the circumstances. I wish it was different, but I'm glad we get to do this with you. Me too, Auntie, I said. We lived with them for a while when I was little after Dad left. They seemed so perfect, with their huge, gorgeous house and pets running all around. One night I had a really bad stomach ache. My cousin Chad, that's my aunt's son, massaged my belly with warm oil until it felt better. That's sweet of him, she said. That night at dinner in the hotel, I ate yet another chicken Caesar salad. It was my go-to meal that summer, and I inhaled it. My aunt laughed and teased me that she knew I would always order that or a bacon cheeseburger. It was no wonder my figure had filled out over the last year. It was true. My hips and breasts had come in, giving me curves where once there were angles. She had taken me shopping for some new clothes, and I had chosen suggestive and bright things that did nothing to hide my new shape. Your cousin Chad just called and said he can come meet us tonight, she told me. Everyone else will be at your aunt's house tomorrow morning, though. Are you up for it? Yeah, definitely, I said, even though it was late and I was getting tired. She paid our bill and we went up to our room. I was suddenly nervous, checking myself in the mirror again and again. You look great, my aunt assured me. There's no reason to be nervous. Everyone loves you. Thanks, I said, unsure. He's here, she looked at her phone. In the lobby. Do you want me to come with you? No, that's okay. I know you're tired after the long drive. I'll be quiet when I come back in so you can get some sleep, I told her. Down in the lobby, a young man in a black leather jacket with dark, short cropped hair and carefully manicured stubble turned to greet me. Brittany, he said, opening his arms. Chad, I gasped, a little shocked at his attractiveness and youth. He couldn't be more than in his early 20s. In my memory, he had seemed so much older. We walked out onto the veranda to sit on a bench under a dim light. It was a warm night, and I was wearing a white tube top over skin-tight dark blue jeans. He asked the usual catching-up questions, which I answered and returned. He asked about my mom, what had happened, how we got to this point. He told me about the time he'd had with her that I had not. She had visited California often, always proudly showing off pictures of my sister and me. Oh no, I wailed. I know the pictures you're talking about. Oh, so awkward. I hate those pictures of myself. Why? You're beautiful, he said. Changing the subject, Chad shared with me that he was composing a piano piece to play at her funeral. I didn't know you played the piano. And you write your own music? I was impressed. There's a lot you don't know about me, he replied. Yeah, it's been a long time, I answered, growing uncomfortable. Something in his eyes and the way he leaned toward me made my stomach cold. Too long, he said, and leaned into my face. He wrapped a hand around the back of my head and pressed my lips into his, shoving his tongue into my mouth. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I kissed back, thinking all the while of Justin's clear blue and white eyes and wanting it to be him. Chad's hands roamed my body, grabbing and massaging my breasts, thighs, waist. After a few moments or a lifetime, he pulled back and stared at me. This is so wrong, he said. I didn't know what to say. I don't know what to say, I said. I just can't resist you. I mean, look at you. His hands on my waist lifted me to stand before him. You're crazy gorgeous. Look at what you're wearing. My God, you want me too, don't you? Before I could answer, he stood and kissed me again, hard. I could feel his manhood pressing into my stomach, throbbing, burning my skin. I have to go, he said when he drew back to breathe. I can't stay here. I'll see you tomorrow at the house, okay? Okay, I said, relieved and shaking. Good night, Brittany, he said, and kissed me once more before walking back inside. I stood there, shaking, staring into the night for a long time. The next morning at breakfast in the hotel restaurant, I was quiet and withdrawn. Wearing a black shirt and a tank top that I suddenly wished was a lot looser, I stared at my plate of food without touching it. Honey, you've barely eaten a thing. Do you feel okay? My aunt sympathized. I didn't reply. We drove to my mom's sister's house, that gorgeous expanse and famously beautiful Laguna Beach. I barely saw it, or anything, as I was reintroduced to my family. We discussed the details of the funeral service, which would be the next day. "Can we keep you tonight?" my aunt, the one I once saw as an angel, asked me. "We haven't seen you in so long. I'd love to cook dinner and spend time getting to know you again." My Arizona auntie answered before I had the chance. "That would be so nice, wouldn't it, Britt? And don't worry about me. I'll go check out Diana's place." Internally panicked, I said, "I haven't even finished writing my mom's eulogy. I need to work on it tonight." "Chad hasn't quite finished his song either, his mom," my angel aunt replied. "Maybe you can work on them together." Later, I sat in the guest room of my mom's sister's house on the eve of the final funeral, the one with my mom's entire family, which was to be followed by scattering her ashes into the sea. I was staring at the piece of paper on the desk, mind completely blank. I was numb. "Why am I doing this?" I muttered aloud to myself. "I don't even know anyone here. This sucks." "What was that?" came a voice from the doorway. Chad, leaning casually against the doorframe. He was already half inside my room. "Nothing. I was just talking to myself. I can't seem to write anything. I have no idea what I'm even going to say tomorrow. I really need to focus." He walked in and sat on the edge of the bed within arm's reach of my chair. "Maybe I can help. Maybe you just need some inspiration," he said. "Come here." I just sat, looking down. He reached over and took my hands in his, pulling me into his lap. "This is so fucked up," my mind was screaming. "Why are you doing this? What is wrong with you?" I silently berated myself, losing the inner battle. His fingers on my chin lifted my face. He dipped his hungry mouth to mine, devouring my feeble resistance. He backed up, pulling my body down upon his. "No," I gasped. "I'm not doing that." "You're a virgin?" he asked, incredulous. "Yeah, and I'm staying one," I said, finally sure of something. "Okay, that's fine. We can do something else," he said, turning me over and pressing himself onto my back, kissing and biting my neck and shoulders, pulling down my pants. He stood admiring my naked bottom as he unzipped his own jeans, revealing a very erect dick. I put my face down on the pillow and tried to remember to breathe. He laid down on top of me, moving himself between my legs but not entering me, until he spent himself in a sticky mess on my back. When he was finished, he rolled me over onto my side, so we lay face to face. He was breathing hard. "That wasn't terrible, was it?" he asked. Wide-eyed, I shook my head. He kissed me, said, "Get some sleep," and left. The day of the funeral arrived. It was my turn to speak, and I couldn't read what I had written. The last chords of Chad's song hung in the air as I walked toward the front of the church to look at a sea of people I didn't know and didn't care to anymore. My voice, sounding distant and foreign, said something to the effect of, "Now that she's in heaven waiting for me, she can finally be a mom. The kind of mom she always wanted to be, but couldn't. She can watch over my sister and me, and one day we'll meet again, and she will be whole. I broke down completely, sobs racking my body for the first time since the priest and the cop told me the news. I was blinded by tears, choking on my breath. My auntie held me until it was over. Later, on the boat, out to sea, it was just me, the captain, who I didn't know, and my mom's sister and brother. And her, my mom, in a shitty gray plastic box with a cremation logo stamped on the front in cheap white lettering. I recalled the conversation back home. Why can't we get a nice urn? I had asked my dad. You're just scattering her ashes anyway, and urns are really expensive and fragile. Let's just keep whatever the cremation place gives us, okay? He had answered reasonably. We have to go out 2 miles, the captain informed me, bringing me back to the present moment. Too many people were doing this kind of thing from the shore, so the state had to crack down on it. Not good to have all of that floating around where people swim. When we finally stopped, my mom's brother asked, "Is there anything you want to say?" "No," I said, wanting it to be over. "Let's just do it." "Okay, sweetie," his sister, my aunt, said to me. "Go ahead. Whenever you're ready." I opened the box, looking in. She was the color of her own cigarette ashes, with little flecks of white that I imagined might have been bones. The wind was already blowing some of the dust around the top of the box, so I turned it into the water off the side of the boat. I let some of the ash run through my fingers, wanting to touch her one last time. She blew gracefully into the wind and sank into the sea, just like she'd always wanted. "My dad's ashes are scattered in Lover's Cove and Laguna," she reminded me once when she was sad, drunk. "When I die, I want to be there too." "Bye, Mom," I said to the waves. Then, to my great relief, we spent the next few days on the beach with Diana and our Arizona friends, with everyone except for Justin. How I wished he had come. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Everyone assumed it was because of my mom. It wasn't. Jason tried to get close to me like he always did. "Remember last summer up at the lake when we almost, you know," he blushed. "I remember," I told him. "Do you ever think about that? Because I do all the time." His voice was vulnerable. I remembered my brief infatuation with him, the excitement of kissing and laying together, fully clothed and fully innocent in our young lust. It made me shudder, flashing back to Chad, to that night. "Sometimes," I said, a little too shortly. "It's him, isn't it?" he gently accused. For a moment, I panicked. How could he know what I had done? "Justin," he went on, "I see how you look at him. I don't get it. I never will. Why him? What does he have that I don't have?" "I don't know, Jason," I said, exhausted. "I don't know anything right now, okay?" "But we have such good times together," he continued. "Remember that night we laid on the back of my boat, staring up at the stars?" "I remember," I said, and added, "That's one of my go-to happy memories, actually. I think about that sky, the warm air and gentle swaying of the boat." I remember the glorious sunset we watched just before it got dark. I go there when I need to escape in my head. I don't get you, he answered, and walked away. Believe me, I thought. Neither do I. And that concludes chapter 13, The Color of Ashes, from my book, Finding Starlight. Thank you for watching. Chapter 14, Love and Consent, airs actually on Monday this week because I'm taking a much needed trip to see my sister. And I also just want to wrap this up as quickly as possible. So I'll see you on Monday. Until then, feel free to comment, direct message, reach out to me if you want or need. And if anything like this ever happened to you, it was not your fault. And I am so sorry.